Upon becoming the substitute for the white moonlight, I find myself engaging in psychological manipulation with the domineering CEO. Since you regard me as her, why don't you first send me a photo showcasing your abs? If you cannot even entice me, how do you expect to seduce her? I have transformed into the protagonist of a tragic narrative. Within the confines of the story, I am the substitute for the radiant white moonlight, treated with utter disdain by the tyrannical CEO while dedicating myself wholeheartedly to him. I am tasked with household chores, crafting soup for him, warming his bed, and enduring the veiled jests of his friends. Ultimately, the white moonlight returns to ruthlessly torment me. In his attempt to please her, he tells me to leave, and only after my demise from cancer does he come to regret his actions. I have merely lost my life, while he has forfeited his love. I resolve to embark on an unforeseen path. The plot has only just commenced, and Linyu has bestowed upon me 300,000 a month to serve as his substitute girlfriend. Linyu possesses an appealing appearance, embodying the essence of a domineering CEO. You shall reside here from now on, tending to my needs and awaiting my return each day. But I still have classes. Withdraw from school. The original protagonist left her studies behind, wholly committed to being his domestic caretaker, severing all ties with society, leaving herself no alternative. Naturally, I have no desire to tread her worn path. Mr. Lin, I inquired and discovered that you chose me because I resemble your beloved white moonlight, Su Shanshan. If you hold such profound affection for her and cannot forget her, why seek a substitute? Does this not tarnish your love? The man, who was about to pin me down on the sofa, paused momentarily. This is not your concern. The finest gifts a man can offer are loyalty, purity, and chastity. Sister Su has merely gone abroad. She is not deceased. If she returns to find that you have taken a lover, how disappointed she would be. To speak candidly, in our female circles, your situation would be labeled as a rotten cucumber, debased and worthless. There was once hope for a reunion, but that is now extinguished. Lin Yu unexpectedly found himself subjected to a lesson in male decorum. Do not entertain thoughts of deceiving her. There are no secrets that remain concealed. I solemnly shook my finger. Moreover, our relationship is one of financial exchange. Should intimacy arise, it would constitute solicitation, falling under criminal law, adversely affecting your personal reputation and your company's stock value. Yet you are so prompt in seeking payment. He cast a nonchalant glance my way, and out of caution, he rose and released me. I aim to rescue you. Since I possess the visage you have long desired, capable of soothing your heartbroken spirit, I am duty-bound to undertake this responsibility, though certainly not through the means of selling myself. If you do not wish for me to be your lover, how do you intend to find solace? I can assist you in practicing how to pursue her. I adjusted my sitting posture. The original narrative described how I bore a striking resemblance to her when I looked up. You must not perceive me merely as a substitute. You should cultivate a sense of belief. From this moment forth, I am Sister Su. Imagine, if she were here now, how would you behave? Lin Yu, inhaling his cigarette, appeared somewhat entranced. She has never been here. A futile infatuation. Look, I am present now. I smiled gently. What do you intend to do, Lin Yu, captivated by my appearance under the dim light, leaned in to kiss me. I swiftly pushed him away. Kissing a girl without her consent is an act of indecency. My gaze became sharp, and I slightly lifted my chin, commanding, "Go to the bathroom, dampen your shirt to reveal your abs." Lin Yu was still reeling from the earlier slap, his face etched with shock. I assertively pulled him up and pushed him into the bathroom, capturing a photograph of his sculpted abdomen. I had meticulously groomed him. Even the buttons of his shirt were misaligned, while the alluring lines of his physique extended beneath a black belt. Clad in tailored trousers and polished black shoes, he exuded an aura of both restraint and sensuality. Sister Su remarked favorably upon viewing the result. I tossed my phone to him, instructing, "Send it to her." Lin Yu's gaze wavered. "I can't do it." "Have you never pursued a girl or engaged in a normal romantic relationship?" A flicker of embarrassment and irritation crossed Lin Yu's eyes. I licked my lip, suggesting, "In that case, allow me to be your exclusive romantic coach, simulating interactions with Sister Su and guiding you on how to win a girl's favor more effectively. By honing your romantic skills, you will gain valuable experience, ensuring that when you eventually confess to Sister Su, you will not find yourself at a loss." I added, "Moreover, our arrangement is contractual, purely commercial in nature, devoid of any emotional entanglement or physical contact, thus preserving your integrity." After a moment's contemplation, Lin Yu conceded, "All right then. Now, I need to return, so please drive me back."
What?
I glanced at the clock. It is already 11 o'clock. It's too late for a girl to return home alone. It's unsafe. You must escort me. Besides, I am currently playing the role of Sister Sue, so you cannot dismiss me with a mere driver. Linyu scrutinized my face for a considerable time before finally taking the car keys and driving me back to school. I changed my WeChat name to match Su Shanshan's and sent him a message. I was very obedient today. Linyu replied, "Good night." A scoundrel is often enabled by indulgence. You invest your efforts and emotions for him, and he perceives you as inferior. Establish rules that favor you, set the boundaries clearly, and then confidently profit from him. Only then will he show courtesy, perhaps even express gratitude. The following day, I took the initiative to send him a good morning message, to which Linyu promptly replied with a good morning and suggested we meet for lunch. After a quick touch-up, I stepped into his Bentley at precisely the right moment. You performed admirably today. You replied to my messages promptly, took the initiative to invite me, and drove a car that certainly enhances my image. However, I smiled as I appraised him. However what? He inquired. Your hair could use a trim. I had scrutinized him long enough to feign politeness as I averted my gaze. For the first time, Linyu felt the weight of female scrutiny, nervously ruffling his hair. And thereafter, he unconsciously glanced at the rearview mirror, questioning what precisely was amiss with his hairstyle. In truth, one's gaze is a form of power. Men often scrutinize women, their glances establishing standards for femininity, defining what constitutes beauty and allure. I unabashedly critiqued Linyu, merely to assert my dominance in our dynamic. Later, at the dining table, I maintained this demeanor. The restaurant is splendid, the cuisine delectable, and you are quite the gentleman. However, I sense you might struggle to entertain women. Are you similarly taciturn with Sister Sue? Linyu coughed nervously. I'm not quite sure what to discuss with women. Compliment me. I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. He appeared somewhat taken aback, his cheeks tinged with a faint blush. You look beautiful today. Continue. He turned his head away. Your attire is quite simple and innocent. That adds just a touch of detail. It's better than vague praise. What else? He pondered for a moment. The shade of your lipstick is lovely. Noticing he was at a loss for words, I lowered my gaze to slice my steak. Were you busy this morning? Not particularly. Share some insights about your company.
I am genuinely curious.
You're the only CEO I know. I rested my chin on my hand, gazing sincerely into his eyes. As he began to discuss his work, I guided the conversation with praise, and before I knew it, he had shared a great deal with me. In conclusion, I advised him, do you see? You must lead the other person to speak about themselves and continuously compliment them. They will be more inclined to share, thereby deepening your mutual understanding. Linyu extrapolated. So, what were you doing this morning? Thinking of you, I replied without hesitation. His eyes flickered, and he turned away, his handsome face slightly flushed. I lowered my gaze, casually cutting my steak, just a little conversational tactic. I was largely satisfied with this date. In the original narrative, my character never had the privilege of dining with him, not even deserving a proper meal. This was not merely about whether he loved me, but whether I retained any semblance of dignity in his eyes, whether I was worthy of being treated with seriousness. Contemplating this, I instructed him to carry my bag, insinuating that he lacked perceptiveness. The dignified CEO, holding my canvas bag, indeed looked quite handsome. Upon returning to the dormitory, Lin Jing confronted me with a splash of water. Tang Xinro, I heard you've hooked up with my brother. How shameless can you be? Lin Jing is Lin Yu's sister. Behind every tragic heroine, there often lurks a sister-in-law who delights in tormenting her. Su Shanshan is their childhood friend, and I am not in the same league as them. She believes I have climbed too high by associating with her brother. And in the original story, she frequently resorted to physical and verbal abuse against me. Do you think looking like Sister Shanshan will be of any use? Being a substitute, you will forever remain an unremarkable stand-in. I wiped the water from my face and called Linyu. I neither cried nor caused a scene. I simply asked if he was free that evening.
Yes.
Where would you like to eat? Dining out lacks sincerity, I said, licking the droplets from my lips in front of Lin Jing. I'll come to your home tonight. You'll cook for me. With that, I hung up the phone. Lin Jing was infuriated, screeching like a boiling kettle. How could my brother allow you into his home and cook for you? Has he lost his mind? On what grounds? I raised the corners of my mouth. Guess? You shameless woman. Do you believe I could make a call to ruin your graduation? The Lin family is indeed influential and wealthy. Not long after, I was summoned by my advisor, who criticized my conduct. I brought you on board for academic pursuits. Yet you're out there courting wealth, creating a stir. You're constantly seen in luxury cars. Is your focus still on your studies? In the original narrative, the advisor colluded with Lin Jing to tarnish my character, leading to my expulsion and transformation into Lin Yu's pet. Am I failing to complete projects? Or is it my data that is lacking? Which experiment have I not worked on late into the night? I challenged him. Is the Lin family's filthy influence so commendable? The advisor, wielding the power of life and death over each student, had never been confronted in such a manner and was incensed, expelling me from the lab. It was late autumn, and the air was cold. I stood in the corridor, suddenly realizing my clothes were still damp. Professor Su, next door, took pity on me and led me into her office, offering me a clean shirt. Change into this. I gazed at her demure and refined features. Vaguely recalling her name was Su Zichio, one of the few characters in the original story who had ever shown kindness to the protagonist. Unfortunately, she was only briefly mentioned, and it was known that she remained stuck in the position of associate professor, unable to advance. Having offended the advisor, you might truly miss out on your degree. She cautioned as she prepared me a cup of hot milk tea. And if I do secure it, what then? Graduating with a Master S doesn't guarantee employment. Jobs are hard to come by nowadays. Moreover, as a woman, if I truly wish to pursue a career in academia, you are well aware of the challenges, Professor Su. I cradled the coffee, my gaze shifting to her. Professor Su, I currently have a promising project on hand, with established clients. Would you be interested in learning more? That evening, Lin Yu arrived to pick me up. Did Lin Jing bully you? Lin Jing often enjoyed calling to report my supposed misdeeds, painting me in a negative light before Lin Yu. I explained that it was merely a facade, a cover for the truth, which only served to deepen his contempt for me. She relies heavily on you, feeling possessive of her brother since you seem to care for me. It's perfectly fine. However, I paused strategically. However what? Lin Jing aspires to enter the entertainment industry, neglecting her studies while auditioning everywhere. Her grades were once commendable. A few well-chosen words caused Lin Yu to furrow his brow. In the original narrative, Lin Jing eventually became a celebrated actress. What an absurd twist of fate, becoming a top-tier star with daily earnings of 208,000. Why do such fortunes always seem to favor those from the Lin family? I resolved to alter her destiny. Students from families like hers typically pursue further studies abroad. You're right, Lin Yu agreed wholeheartedly. I thought to myself, let us send her abroad for 3 to 4 years. By the time she returns, she'll be far too old for the entertainment industry. We ventured to a supermarket before returning to Lin Yu's suburban villa. Today's girls are quite pampered, especially someone like Sister Su. You pursued her not just to have her cook and clean for you, right? I'll hire a maid when the time comes, Lin Yu replied matter-of-factly. I scoffed inwardly. How ironic that he now acknowledges the need for help. In the original story, I had spent 3 years preparing soup for him. A man who can cook is quite appealing. It's often perceived as a sign of being family-oriented and romantic. You might have a disadvantage in the romantic department due to your job, leaving you little time for companionship. I would suggest you spend more time in the kitchen. Lin Yu removed his suit jacket and donned an apron over his white shirt. I used to cook while studying abroad, but I've grown rusty. I can hardly wait. Let me sample your culinary skills, I said, perched on a high stool at the bar, lazily resting my chin on my hand as I watched him bustle about. Ah, how the tides have turned. Finally, it was his turn to prepare a meal for me, and it was a delightful prospect. Lin Yu, having studied abroad, surprisingly possessed quite the skill in Western cuisine. I extolled him. A feast for the senses, devoid of significant flaws. You merely need to discern Sister Sue's culinary preferences and cater to her tastes. She has a penchant for spiciness and robust flavors. Lin Yu's gaze grew somewhat nostalgic. In the original tale, I had prepared meals for him over the span of 3 years, yet he failed to recall my own tastes. The moment his white moonlight returned, he ordered boiled fish, insisting that I, with my dysmenorrhea, partake as well. This clearly indicated either a poor memory or a lack of emotional investment in me. After all, who would bother to remember the preferences of a devoted female subordinate? I stirred the chicken and mushroom soup. This isn't particularly healthy. You must pay more attention to nutritional balance. Your cooking is laden with cream and cheese. Is your blood lipid level still normal? Huh. Lin Yu paused, taken aback. I notice you seem quite busy with work and have little time for exercise. Consuming rich dishes and alcohol. How did your last health checkup turn out? Lin Yu adopted a serious demeanor. It was acceptable, I suppose. You're nearing 30, aren't you? It's high time to take care of your health, I remarked. Lin Yu appeared astonished, as if he had never contemplated being reminded of his age by me, a seemingly innocent university student. However, with the advancements in biotechnology, one can maintain the physiological state of a 25-year-old. In Silicon Valley, it is quite fashionable to have a dedicated team of personal physicians employing various supplements and medications to sustain vitality. We have a professor in our department who has introduced such a program. Initially, Lin Yu displayed little interest. Yet I was well aware of his myriad ailments, insomnia, gastric issues, and allergies. I consistently pestered him, pointing out his pronounced dark circles and lackluster demeanor, even noting the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, indicative of dampness within. When the moment was right, I recommended Su Jiqiu to him. Our department is notorious for being the most challenging, and Su Jiqiu specializes in pharmaceutical research, prescribing him some supplements to take home. He found them rather effective. And Su Jiqiu assembled a team of personal doctors and nutritionists to monitor his physical and mental well-being, administering medications as needed. I, too, kept myself busy, registering a company under our department, securing university entrepreneurship subsidies, and leveraging the school's resources to obtain all necessary permits. By the time Lin Yu signed the contract with Su Jiqiu, I had already become a co-founder of cyber biotechnology. I genuinely feel much better physically. My sleep quality has improved, I wake up energized and with enhanced focus. I find it easier to manage my work, even squeezing in time for exercise. Lin Yu beamed at me. I smiled back. I told you long ago, Professor Su is a professional. What are the specific costs? Lin Yu inquired of her. 2 million. Su Jiqiu replied, a slow smile creeping across her lips. 2 million annually. After signing the first contract, Su Jiqiu and I went out to celebrate. Your boss was furious when he found out you partnered with me, Su Jiqiu informed me. In our graduate program, we refer to our advisors as boss. Is that so? He called me today, asking me to come back to continue my classes. Upon learning I had ventured into entrepreneurship and secured a significant contract with the Lin family, my advisor's attitude underwent a complete transformation, an unprecedented warmth and eagerness, subtly probing why I hadn't sought his collaboration. I candidly responded, in matters of entrepreneurship, I prefer partnering with women. Women are meticulous, prudent, emotionally intelligent, and possess strong empathy. My advisor had previously stated in my presence that he would no longer admit female students, as he believed they would inevitably seek wealthy partners. Thus, he would only recruit males in the future. Su Jiqiu then asked, do you plan to return? I shook my head. Ultimately, education is a means to secure employment. And I have already established my career, with a company to manage. I would rather have my student status revoked. It matters little to me. Su Jiqiu appeared slightly taken aback before smiling. Even if he agrees, the department won't allow it. They still want you to deliver a speech as an outstanding graduate. And I wish you a swift promotion to professor, I toasted her. In truth, my actions mirrored those in the original narrative, diligently caring for Lin Yu, ensuring his physical and mental comfort, alleviating his burdens. The difference lay in the fact that, in the original tale, I personally prepared every meal.
Now,
I had enlisted a professional team to handle that aspect, and in the process, I managed to secure a lucrative deal, emerging as a star within the academy. No longer a pitiable dropout. Maternal sacrifices and selfless offerings hold little value. Men do not love you for such acts. When emotion intertwines, men often perceive it as their own allure, believing they deserve it, while you appear foolish and naive. I have always been perplexed by why the heroines of tragic romances toil over men's care. As if bound by a certain East Asian doctrine, loving someone equates to assuming the role of their mother. This notion is regarded as a common feminine virtue. Yet, if this is indeed a virtue, why do men not practice it themselves? Why do men not become supportive partners for women, opting instead to pursue their careers and bask in the adulation of admirers? I admire the supportive spouses, yet I cannot emulate them. I do not relish caring for others, especially not men. What connection do they hold for me? My time is invaluable. Thus I choose to embrace their love for wealth, power, and the allure of youth. As inscribed on the cover of the Neapolitan Quartet, my entire life is but a vulgar struggle for the elevation of social status. When the month elapsed, Lin Yu transferred money to me, which I declined. I was merely jesting, Mr. Lin. You are Lin Jing's brother, and I find you quite amiable. I merely wish to cultivate a friendship, not to truly accept your money. The pure and innocent Tang Xinro could willingly become your lover for such an amount, uncomplaining and departing without taking a dime. Her reputation as a courtesan would be tainted, yet she would gain naught in return. I, however, am different. I intend to earn your money while maintaining a clear and honest accounting, liberating myself from the identity of a mere substitute lover. I exchanged the 300,000 he offered for a Harley motorcycle and returned it to him. He was pleasantly surprised, beaming like a child, his gaze sparkling as he looked at me. The following day, I received an array of luxury items: Dior's latest handbag, a Chanel necklace, a Bulgari bracelet. Quite splendid. My teachings on the importance of generosity in a man did not go unheeded. The pure and innocent Tang Shinro, in other words, does not typically spend extravagantly.
Now,
He understands the necessity of treating me well. In the crude game of social status, everyone possesses a price tag. Your identity dictates the caliber of gifts you receive and the manner in which you are treated. I present you with gifts because you are one of our esteemed clients. I sent him a voice message. What are you doing? He responded. Congratulations on your entrepreneurial success. Lin Yu's tone had softened considerably since our initial encounters. Then I shall graciously decline. This weekend I will take you to test the new bike. As I accompanied him on a ride, we encountered his friends.
hey,
Who is this? Your little lover? She bears a striking resemblance to Shan. Lin Yu appeared somewhat awkward. I remained composed. Retrieving my business card from my bag to present to him, I am Tang from Cyber Biotechnology. May I inquire your name? Lin Yu's friend glanced at the title of founder on the card and extended his hand. I'm Song Ming. Another foolish male counterpart. A childhood friend of Lin Yu. They lamented the missed connection between Lin Yu and Su Shan, while Tang Shinro seized the opportunity, finding fault with her at every turn, deeming her unworthy of his good friend. Simultaneously, they believed that since Tang Shinro had assumed the role of a servant, any issues Lin Yu faced would be her fault, treating her without dignity. When they indulged in drunken revelry, they would call her to fetch them. When did you start playing with bikes? Song Ming inquired of Lin Yu. Lin Yu glanced at me. Little Tang gifted me a Harley. Indeed. It was ultimately funded by your money. I mused silently, maintaining an air of dignified composure. He typically engages in little leisure activity, constantly immersed in work. I believe he is rather too tense. I hope he will embrace the thrill of speed and excitement. Song Ming let out a sound of surprise. Goodness. Why isn't he such a stunning beauty offered to drive me around? Lin Yu, you rascal. You are indeed fortunate. This is a wealthy woman. I feigned astonishment, replying, my relationship with Mr. Lin is purely professional. We merely engage in business dealings. Song Ming continued to dart his eyes mischievously between the two of us. What kind of business do you two have? Can I join? High-end medical services. I replied with a smile. If you're interested, Mr. Song, I can have my assistant send you the company profile and project details shortly. Upon hearing the mention of an assistant, Song Ming finally believed me, shedding his earlier frivolity. He could afford to be disrespectful to Lin Yu's mistress. For a mistress is but a plaything. However, a young founder without romantic entanglements, but with business ties, was a different matter altogether. In our circle, every man was accompanied by a partner. I was dressed in fashion as they were, adorned with luxury goods, yet the distinction between us was unmistakable. The most glaring difference was during dinner, when Song Ming offered me a toast of Maotai. I don't drink, I politely declined. I could drink. A bottle of Maotai was no challenge for me, but I refused to sip a drop for the sake of a man with whom I shared no connection. Allow me. Lin Yu interjected, rising to take his glass, downing it in one go amidst the cheers of the crowd.
such a gentleman.
You've taught him well, Lin Yu responded, clearly pleased. I sat beside him, and he basked in the admiration. Upon my return, I indeed handed over the project proposal and company profile to Song Ming. This package is also utilized by Mr. Lin. You might want to inquire about his experience with it. Song Ming, a man of considerable lasciviousness. I subtly assured him that we could guarantee an exceptional experience in his intimate life, which delighted him enough to finalize the deal. I ventured out with Lin Yu's friends a few times, converting them all into my clients. This aspect of the narrative leaves me perplexed regarding the female protagonist of those tormenting tales, having access to the resources of high society, yet achieving nothing. Seemingly fixated solely on suffering. After all, if everyone assumes you are after men's wealth, why not capitalize on it vigorously instead of being overly courteous? As the year-end bonuses arrived, I purchased a spacious flat in the city center. On the day of my housewarming, I intentionally invited Lin Yu over for dinner, leading him around to show off. To be able to afford a property in Songyuan right after graduation, you must be among the elite of your cohort, Lin Yu remarked. His eyes filled with admiration. I smiled in silence, pondering how I could possibly know the value of this property when it was he who had originally chosen it. In the original narrative, it was around this time that Lin Yu settled Tang Shinro in this very place. 3 years later, when the beloved returned, Tang Shinro departed with nothing but a suitcase, leaving behind this lavish mansion, her heart consumed by a love that had slipped away. Did she never consider the 3 years of youth she had lost? Surely, she ought to have at least secured a flat. I tossed the property deed onto the coffee table, gazing through the floor-to-ceiling windows at the resplendent river view. As the sun set, Lin Yu poured me a glass of champagne. How exquisite! At the onset of spring, I busied myself with attracting investments and encountered his mother at a dinner at Lin Yu's home. You must be Miss Tang? I've heard so much about you from Lin Yu. I've been eager to meet you, but could never manage it. The elegantly adorned lady greeted me warmly. I returned her kindness. My apologies. I had intended to visit you last week, but an urgent task arose, and I simply couldn't make it. She has been awarded the city's Outstanding Youth Representative and is attending a conference, Lin Yu interjected, standing beside us to introduce me. Mrs. Lin's eyes widened slightly. You, where did you find such an outstanding young woman? She seems so youthful. I am Lin Jing's roommate. Initially, Mr. Lin approached me, remarking that I bore a striking resemblance to a dear friend of his, evoking a sense of familiarity. I said, glancing at Lin Yu. He hastily cleared his throat, signaling to his mother. Oh, you mean Shanshan. She was our neighbor long ago. She, however, is far too lively and self-centered, nowhere near as composed as you. You both share a slight resemblance, but with women, it ultimately boils down to temperament. Oh my. I recalled how, in the original tale, Mrs. Lin always regarded me with condescension, even going so far as to pay for my departure from her son. I found it amusing. Su Shanshan was her ideal daughter-in-law, while I, the imposter, made her feel diminished. Initially, she was determined to rid herself of me, and when that proved impossible, she resorted to nitpicking, criticizing the salt content in my cooking as unhealthy, or complaining that the clothes I washed lacked the scent of natural fragrances, causing her son to be allergic. In essence, I was Lin Yu's stepmother, while she was his biological mother. The biological mother believed the stepmother was inadequate, eager to intervene herself. Each time I returned to the grand estate, I felt like a servant. In such a vast household, even indulging in a couple of plums required me to gauge her mood. Rather than being frugal, it was more akin to psychological manipulation, incessantly undermining your dignity and amplifying your feelings of unworthiness. At this moment, Mrs. Lin affectionately linked her arm through mine, leading me aside. It turned out she had been so eager to find me because Lin Yu had recommended the revolutionary biological technology to her. Now in her 50s, her desire to delay aging had intensified. We primarily target young, high-net-worth clients, I explained, as younger individuals are less likely to encounter complications. However, I assure you, as a good friend of Lin Yu's, I will do my utmost to cater to your needs. Easy money should never be passed up. Though I cannot guarantee such remarkable results, routine maintenance cannot substitute for hospital care. Regular treatments may suffice, but should complications arise, prompt hospitalization would be necessary, supplemented by additional insurance. I had already devised a comprehensive customized plan in my mind. Mrs. Lin enthusiastically remarked, no worries, I'd like to give it a try. What could I say? Naturally, I tearfully signed the contract, as her age warranted a doubled price, netting me 400,000 a year. I neglected to mention that in the original narrative, Tang Shinro not only served Lin Yu but also catered to his mother, tirelessly preparing gourmet meals and consistently gifting her skincare products during visits. The privilege she received was a prohibition from ascending to the second floor. Despite Su Shanshan's vacant room, Tang Shinro was barred from spending even a single night there. On their first spring festival together, Tang Shinro toiled in the kitchen until midnight, only to be informed by Lin Yu's mother that she had already drunk and retired, instructing her to clean up and return home. Alone, she walked amidst the New Year's chimes, through the swirling white snow. That evening, Mrs. Lin invited me to stay over, and I followed her upstairs, catching a glimpse of the fabled second floor. What do you think? This room was specially prepared for you. I scrutinized it thoroughly until the noblewoman's expression turned anxious. No need, Auntie. I think I shall return home. Disappointed, I turned to leave, her face paling at my dissatisfaction with her room, feeling it unworthy of me. Yet I would never reveal what exactly I found lacking. She would have to guess, much like Tang Shinro did in the original tale. Days passed, and Mrs. Lin sought me out once more. I instructed my secretary, tell her I'm in a meeting and have her wait in the reception room. Understood, Miss Tang.
I arburat noil intentions.
I simply wished to let her stew a bit, not wanting her to be able to summon me like a dog. The original story involved many melodramatic twists concerning her. My relentless efforts were aimed at ensuring that when they sought me out in rivalry, they would at least have to navigate past security and my secretary. Even if she offered me 10 million to leave her son, I would have legal counsel by my side. Such imagery would be far more appealing and align with my aesthetic sensibilities. After toying with my phone for a while, I ventured out to greet her. Good afternoon, Auntie. I've just finished my meeting. Mrs. Lin was carrying a double boiler. I heard you sometimes suffer from stomach pains, so I made you some nourishing bird's nest soup. Such thoughtfulness. What brings you here? You and Jingjing had a quarrel, she sighed. Jingjing is determined to enter the entertainment industry and become a star, while Yu is adamant about sending her abroad for a proper education. I understand this quite well. Not only did I understand, but initially, it was I who suggested to Lin Yu to send Lin Jing abroad, and I did not hesitate to fan the flames thereafter. Yu really is something. Why must he force her into such a situation? There is nothing wrong with becoming a female star. The entertainment industry is rife with chaotic relationships. Lin's mother changed her tone. Jingjing has quarreled with her brother several times, and Yu remains obstinate. She was supposed to fly to America today, but instead, she ran away from home. We have lost contact with her. As her roommate, do you have any idea where she might be? I twirled my pen. Please don't worry. Auntie, I'll try to contact her. I turned and reached out to a former roommate to inquire about Lin Jing's whereabouts. In the original narrative, they often banded together to target me, as I had shamelessly pursued her brother and played the role of a mistress. After my arrival, the situation improved significantly. I co-founded a company with Professor Su, and indeed, Su Jiqiu was promoted this year while they struggled to find jobs after graduation. I hired 2 of them from ordinary backgrounds, becoming their boss. They now address me as General Manager Tang. I pinged them on DingTalk, and they quickly provided me with Lin Jing's location. I drove over to find Lin Jing crying in a hotel. Don't think I don't know. It's all your fault for inciting my brother. I merely mentioned it casually. How could I have known he would take it to heart? I replied, feigning innocence. Just because we are roommates, he constantly compares me to you. Lin Jing sobbed, wiping her tears, her heavy makeup now a smudge. What is there to compare? What level are you even at to be compared with me? In our senior year, while you were busy chasing men, I was maneuvering in the capital market, orchestrating deals.
No joke.
I leaned back on the sofa, crossed my legs, and relentlessly pooed at her. What are your thoughts now? Are you determined to enter the entertainment industry? I will not return to school. What is the point of studying? You dropped out halfway. I poured myself a cup of Longjing tea. I did graduate and even delivered the speech for outstanding graduates. Regardless, I want to act. Lin Jing declared, her resolve leaving me speechless. She compelled me to believe in fate. Perhaps she truly was destined to become a movie star. I pondered. So, you intend to stay away? To struggle alone out there? I am about to join a crew to shoot a short drama. Huawei's agent has already contacted me. I scoffed. The owner of Huawei is their top star. With no resources or background, and considering you share a similar appearance with her, how could they possibly promote you? You would forever remain beneath others. Moreover, Huawei hosts numerous social events. Can you bear the thought of sleeping with a coal boss? Lin Jing was momentarily silenced. This young lady, despite her misdeeds at school, riding high on her family name, was nothing without her brother, merely a naive girl lacking any real-world experience. I calculated. I will talk to your brother and propose starting a company for you. Will he agree? If he won't, I can do it myself. I huffed, leaving Lin Jing in awe. Upon reaching Lin Yu, I altered my approach. She is adamant about entering the entertainment industry. That circle is quite chaotic. Lin Yu replied while chain-smoking. How about this? I can set up a company for her and find an agent to guide her. Instead of letting her struggle under someone else's thumb, it would be better to support her, keep an eye on her, and manage her. Lin Yu looked at me with gratitude. You handle it. I'll invest the money. How much can this yield? You'd be ridiculed for entering the entertainment industry. I will handle it. I am genuinely interested in this field. Capital also has its hierarchy, and the entertainment industry is not for the faint-hearted. I didn't care about his reputation. I merely wished to keep Lin Jing under my control. Ultimately, through my mediation, I successfully brought Lin Jing back to the Lin family. Lin's mother was in tears. Xian, you are truly wonderful and capable. Thank you. She bowed deeply, with Lin Jing in tow. Thanks to Xian for cleaning up your mess, if you ever dare to act ungratefully again. Lin Yu shot a stern look at his sister. Naturally, Lin Jing would not dare oppose me, for I had signed her under my company, becoming her boss. I privately instructed the agent I hired, just take her along. No need to stress too much. She has a rich second generation. Her family hopes she marries soon. Yet Lin Jing truly excelled. Despite my manipulations behind the scenes, she managed to star in 2 dramas the following year. I accepted it after all. I had an 80-20 split, and the money flowed into my pocket. I despised Lin Jing, but I could not forsake the profits. That would be unethical. Thus, I instructed the agent to keep her schedule full. She worked tirelessly acting and participating in variety shows, earning me millions each month. I leveraged her fame to raise 4.8 billion in the market and recruited a group of young men to support. Consequently, I developed a habit of escaping to the entertainment company whenever stress loomed. Witnessing a swarm of young men clamoring to call me sister and subtly seeking my attention for night scripts lifted my spirits. Youth. Thank you, Lin Jing. Just as my career was flourishing, Lin Yu called one day, inviting me on a trip. His company organizes an annual funded tour, and we had built a good rapport over the years. He often invited me along. This was not the first time, so I had no reason to doubt him and quickly prepared to go. In truth, I had grown less resentful towards him, as he was my first source of income. Not only did he provide me with money, but he also brought along his entire family and circle of friends to contribute. How could he be a scoundrel? Even the Bodhisattva of Putuwa Mountain could not rival his efficacy. On the first day of the new year, I always visited him first before going to the temple to pray. My amicable relationship with him was also largely due to the absence of any emotional entanglements. We were merely business acquaintances. We chatted casually, shared tea, exchanged information, and discussed recent profitable investments, engaging in speculative ventures. This is how our lives as executives typically unfold. Therefore, my expectations of Lin Yu were modest. As long as he didn't require me to wash his clothes, cook, or serve as a surrogate, I could maintain a friendly and peaceful coexistence with him. However, fate is unpredictable. Upon arriving at the hotel he booked, I found the lawn adorned with pink roses. Not merely small bouquets of flowers, but an elaborate display crafted at great expense, featuring a 30-meter-tall rose sculpture, an ethereal scene. He stood below, holding a bouquet of iridescent roses. Our circle of friends, Lin's mother, Lin Jing, and the employees from their company were all elegantly dressed, eagerly watching me. My friends, I had thought we were going to the beach. I wore a pair of flip-flops and hadn't even painted my nails. Lin Yu, meticulously dressed with a perfectly styled hairdo, approached me, holding flowers. Xi in row, I was never good at conversing with girls, and I am utterly clueless about romance. You are the first girl willing to patiently guide and teach me. I never imagined I could share so much with a girl. And being with you always brings me immense joy. Now, I wish to continue this happiness. Will you marry me? He then knelt on one knee and produced a diamond ring. I was taken aback. In that atmosphere, everyone was cheering and cameras were focused on me. Yet all I could think was that I did not want to marry, and if I were to wed, it would not be Lin Yu. Hence, I seized his hand, shaking it fervently. Thank you, thank you, thank you, General Lin, for this honor. We were merely partners before, and now you wish to become my life partner. This is so sudden. I am at a loss for words. My mind is a jumble. This proposal is too grand. You caught me off guard. Let's sit down and discuss this inside. It's getting late, and you should all head in for dinner. Have the dishes been served? Lin Yu's expression was evidently displeased, and the others began to comprehend that this proposal was not proceeding smoothly. Nevertheless, I had already provided him with a way out, and without any confrontation, they merrily indulged in their public-funded trip, happily streaming towards the hotel restaurant. Lin Yu found it somewhat difficult to face me, pretending to still be a proper groom as he went over to entertain the guests. Song Ming leaned in, seemingly ready to admonish me. I preemptively cooled my expression and said, "What has Lin Yu's intention? He has shown me no respect today." Song Ming was taken aback. Huh? How is this him disrespecting you? In matters such as proposals, he didn't even notify me. The photographer dressed more elegantly than I did. Standing in this setting, the atmosphere feels entirely different. If I were to post this on YouTube, others would think I had photoshopped myself in, as if I were trying to show off. Is that really the reason? Song Ming was at a loss for words. He has spent months preparing for this proposal, running around, and investing over 3 million, specifically instructing us not to leak any information. But I am not his girlfriend. What does he need to propose for? I replied coldly. Isn't it because your entertainment company has numerous admirers that he is anxious? If he is anxious, why then prepare such a grand proposal? Has he not considered the possibility of rejection? His actions lack prudence, and his plans are hasty. I initially believed him to be a cautious person, but I find him to be reckless and impulsive. Upon hearing me criticize Lin Yu, Song Ming was utterly confounded. After a moment, he stared blankly and repeated, "You publicly rejected him. How humiliating for him. One good thing about me is that I never engage in self-inflicted turmoil. This is not my fault. It is entirely his issue. First, he should have asked me privately. If I had refused, he would only feel heartbroken, not humiliated. Secondly, he has no contingency plan for how to salvage his dignity after being rejected. The embarrassment he faces is of his own making. But his boldness in approaching you indicates he is confident of success. He genuinely believes that once he speaks, you will agree to him. What does he take me for? Does he look down upon me, viewing me as mere plaything?" Seeing my growing agitation, Song Ming quickly attempted to console me. "Of course not.
How could he think that?
You are misunderstanding him. He genuinely likes you, which is why he acted this way. Then his emotional intelligence is quite lacking. I refuse to be morally coerced. Today, even if the king himself came, the blame rests entirely on Lin Yu." Observing my unwavering stance, Song Ming seemed thoroughly brainwashed. He may lack emotional intelligence, but you should be more accommodating. You have known each other for so many years, and we all see how he treats you. You should just settle things with him. You understand our relationship better than I do? If you care for him so much, why don't you marry him? After all, the wedding setup is already done. I can even order a custom suit for you. Song Ming looked as if he were about to cry. "Shinro, I am not gay. I share a purely platonic brotherhood with him. How could you think that of me?" I had drenched Song Ming in verbal fire when, just then, Lin Yu approached me. Song Ming, as if spotting a savior, quickly fled, being careful to avoid any eye contact with Lin Yu to prevent being misconstrued as gay. Still in a huff, I hadn't yet vented my frustration and gestured for Lin Yu to follow me into the conference room, continuing my tirade. "What is your meaning today?" "What meaning could I possibly have?" Lin Yu plopped down on the sofa, took out a cigarette, but hesitated to light it, merely playing with it between his fingers. "After all these years, don't you think you should make me a promise?" "What promise? We haven't even been in a relationship. Why jump straight to marriage?" "No relationship."
Huh.
Lin Yu's hand trembled slightly as he held the cigarette. "What do you think all these years have been? I cooked for you. I drove you wherever you needed. I accompanied you on your outings. When your father was hospitalized in 2019 and you couldn't return from abroad, I stayed by his side day and night. And have I not contributed anything to you?" I countered. "I bought your Harley, your watch, your suit, and your leather shoes. Whenever I go out, I always bring you gifts. The moment you mentioned wanting the first cup of milk tea of autumn, I order hundreds of cups delivered to your company. One for everyone from top to bottom. Whatever you desired, I made sure to procure it for you. Am I not considerate enough?" Lin Yu's emotions softened slightly. Yet he remained disappointed. "Listen to yourself. You sound like a scoundrel. You're merely keeping me on a string, treating me as a backup." "I'm keeping you on a string? As a backup?" I cross my arms. "Lin Yu, I regard you as a very good friend. I am generous and willing to invest in my friendships." Lin Yu turned his head away. "There is no such thing as friendship between the sexes." "Oh, really? So, in your view, my considering you a friend means you want to sleep with me?" I picked up a flip-flop and hurled it at his custom suit. Having lost his father at an early age, Lin Yu had taken on family responsibilities quite early, and with a mother who excessively spoiled him. He had never been subjected to any form of punishment. Caught off guard by my flip-flop assault, he instinctively recoiled. I immediately raised the other flip-flop, pacing angrily across the wooden floor. "Fine. Since you've put it that way, let me explain why all these years. I have only regarded you as a friend and never entertained any thoughts of you. Do you still remember how we met? You were Lin Jing's classmate. We had dinner together. Lin Yu evaded the crux of the matter. And then, you offered me 300,000, asking me to be your mistress because I resembled your first love." I slapped the flip-flop down onto the table. "Do you think I could have a future with you starting from such a premise? Have you lost your mind?" A flicker of shame crossed Lin Yu's eyes. "That was in the past. I didn't know you well back then, and we quickly resolved the misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?"
Spare me.
I scoffed. "From the moment you spoke those words, you eliminated any chance with me."
Why?
"Because that incident revealed your character to be utterly despicable. What kind of man propositions a female university student for a mistress on the very first day of their acquaintance? Trying to take me home to sleep with you on our first meeting? You have no sense of decency." Lin Yu straightened up immediately. I can't accept your characterization. That was my first time. I had never been in a relationship before, nor had I taken a mistress. Since then, I have not. Others take female companions to social gatherings, but whenever you are free, I always call you, or else I take a male secretary along. I am, undoubtedly, the most principled man in Jinghai. As for why I made such an inappropriate proposal when we first met, it was because of you. The moment I saw you, I knew I was destined to be with you. Even if my emotional intelligence was somewhat lacking and my actions a bit extreme, my feelings for you are sincere, and you must acknowledge that. I was taken aback, scrutinizing him. Lin Yu, you have made some progress. The once blunt and domineering CEO now spoke sweet words. If I hadn't read the original work, I might have believed him. I tossed aside the flip-flop and plopped down in a chair. What you're saying now sounds pleasant, but I know that if, over these 3 years, I hadn't climbed the social ladder and remained that broke female university student, I would merely be your canary. Don't even talk about love. You wouldn't even respect me. Nonsense. This is the reality. I knew the script well. What I detest the most is that you would suggest supporting a poor me with such degrading terms as mistress or lover. It makes me perceive you as vulgar, promiscuous, unkind, and even malicious, which taints the affection you express towards me today with a strong sense of opportunism. Do you understand? Engaging in such a profound exchange, Lin Yu fell silent. This was a question he had never contemplated. As a man wielding substantial resources, he had always held a position of power in the societal hierarchy, never needing to lower himself to consider the plight of the masses. Society demanded nothing of him but victory, victory and more victory, relentlessly acquiring greater social resources. As a woman, my victory lies solely in winning his love. This set of rules is profoundly distorted. What I value is not your preference for me, but rather how you treat those less fortunate than you when you attain wealth and status. That is the true measure of character. We both possess wealth and power now.
But what is so remarkable about that?
I pointed towards the hotel maid passing by outside. Our character is no different from that of her. We are all equal. Yet in your heart, and in the hearts of your family, you consider yourselves superior, capable of trampling on others. Why did Lin Jing bully me back in school? Because she could. To this day, she has never apologized to me. What gives me a sense of security is not favoritism, but integrity. I had instilled too many new ideas in him, and when I left, Lin Yu was still inside, digesting them alone. After returning home, I opened Jane Eyre and sent him that famous line. Do you think that because I am poor, obscure, plain, and little, I have no soul or heart? You are mistaken. I have as much soul as you, and as much heart. If God had given me wealth and beauty, I would have made it impossible for you to leave me. Just as I find it impossible to leave you now. When I speak to you, it is my spirit speaking to your spirit, as if two beings who have experienced the grave stand before the foot of God, equal, for we are equal. I told him, this is a book written in 1847. It is the voice of a woman from over 200 years ago. And today, in 2023, nearly 2 centuries later, they have yet to hear our innermost cries. After this incident, for a while, others privately mocked Lin Yu for being my devoted admirer. At a dinner gathering, an older man even advised him not to be so attentive to a woman, saying I was too dominant and formidable. Women should seek obedient partners. With his attributes, he could easily date a beautiful internet celebrity each month. What else was he striving for? Lin Yu's response was that he admired me greatly. I held significant importance in his heart, and he did not wish for me to look down on him. One must be a person of integrity before undertaking any business, he told that boss. The latter viewed him as pretentious and aloof, but it mattered little since he was the client. The boss secretly criticized him while publicly suggesting future meetings be held in tea houses for a more leisurely lifestyle. Months passed, and the 3-year deadline arrived. Our protagonist, Su Shanshan, returned to the country. I received this news from Song Ming at the earliest opportunity. A few of us old friends planned to invite her to dinner. Would you like to join? I found it peculiar. Why would you invite me to join your old friends? Because you are also one of our old friends. How could we possibly not invite you to dinner? Song Ming laughed on the other end of the line, just letting you know. It doesn't matter if you come or not. I felt a bit of subtlety in the situation but decided to go, as I enjoyed the excitement of witnessing how the trajectory of fate had shifted after my intervention. Upon my arrival, everyone was present except for Lin Yu. Where is he? In a meeting? I recalled that he had no significant appointments today. How could he dare not come?
What kind of talk is that?
Song Ming winked at me. He didn't come, yet you still called me? I didn't know for sure you would actually come. I just thought I should inform you. It wouldn't be good for you to find out later. Song Ming replied with a frown. It seemed resolving the issue of the white moonlight's return had left these straight men perplexed about how to arrange things appropriately. I found it quite amusing, sensing that everyone was conspiring to protect Lin Yu's interests, a stark contrast to the original narrative. When Su Shanshan entered, I scrutinized her features. Indeed, our facial structures bore some resemblance, but while looks may be similar, our temperaments were utterly distinct. I have always held the awareness that no one could resemble my type, let alone me resembling her. Perhaps it was due to my inherent pride. Su Shanshan, however, seemed somewhat reserved. "This is our General Tang," Lin Jing said, sitting beside me and linking arms in a show of camaraderie. "Sister Shanshan, we've always told General Tang that you look quite like her." Su Shanshan appeared a bit embarrassed, akin to Tang Xinro being labeled a stand-in at that table in the original story. Beauty often bears similarities. We all share the same 3 sections and 5 features. I clinked glasses with her, and she noticeably relaxed. No drama transpired at that table, just casual conversation. Although I had never met Su Shanshan before, I was accustomed to business etiquette and had prepared a small gift for our meeting, a classical pearl brooch. Later, as the men indulged in their drinks, she moved over to chat with me for a while and we got acquainted. I was somewhat aware of her situation. Her family had gone bankrupt. And now this artistic young lady was back to work and repay debts, her brow furrowed with fatigue. "Have you secured a job?" Song Ming arranged for me to manage a hotel under his family's name. I replied that it sounded promising, added her on WeChat, and then we parted ways without incident. As we walked outside, Lin Yu's Bentley was parked quietly, its lights flashing in acknowledgement. I slid into the passenger seat, and Su Shanshan greeted him through the window. Why didn't you come today?" "Too busy," Lin Yu muttered, his eyes betraying his fib. "Shinro would have been the same. So busy that you couldn't even take the time to come? You must be working too hard," Su Shanshan replied with polite concern. "It's past 11. I have to be here to pick them up," Lin Yu said. As Su Shanshan watched us drive away, her expression turned slightly somber, tinged with a hint of envy. I texted Song Ming to give her a ride. After that, I glanced at Lin Yu. "You're quite anxious." He likely had Song Ming report back to me about the situation, staying as far away as possible, not anticipating that I would genuinely come to see Su Shanshan. Lin Yu grasped the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. Inside, I'm on the verge of collapse. "For such a complicated emotional entanglement, you've managed it remarkably well." "But what as I would have been the same mean?" "I presented her with a gift, and you immediately claimed it was from you. Are you taking advantage of my goodwill?" "Indeed. I often bask in your glow in public," I said with a slight smile. Su Shanshan did not linger in Jinghai, quickly taking up her position at Song Ming's hotel in a distant city. Within half a year, they surprisingly tied the knot. When I received the invitation, I could hardly believe it, but considering Su Shanshan's eagerness to ascend and accumulate wealth, and Song Ming's notorious lecherous nature, he had always supported her in the original story, it was not entirely unexpected. Lin Yu served as the best man, and Su Shanshan also invited me to be a bridesmaid. Over the past 6 months, she had confided in me frequently, lamenting her lack of friends, as Lin Jing and her circle looked down upon her due to her family's decline. Perhaps I was the only one in her social circle who treated her kindly. The wedding was lavish, and after their union, Su Shanshan gave birth to a daughter. One day, she suddenly called me in tears, confessing that she could no longer endure the situation and wanted a divorce. It turned out that her family was not merely in decline. In marrying into the Song family, she found herself with little status. No matter how diligently she served her in-laws, she could not garner their favor, and Song Ming had cheated on her during her pregnancy. Initially, she would protest, but each outburst would result in punishment. She had hoped to bear a son to carry on the Song family name, yet what she delivered was a daughter. Song Ming, thus, refrained from even obtaining a marriage certificate with her, indulging in a life of extravagance outside while she languished in confinement without any care. Moreover, they were unwilling to settle her family's debts, strictly monitoring finances for fear she might support her family. I had long foreseen this outcome. "Then bring your daughter over. I have plenty of empty houses. You may choose anyone." She was taken aback for a moment. "Shinro, I'm merely venting my frustrations to you. What else can I do? In my situation, how can I leave him? How can I support my daughter? Won't you earn money outside? I can hire a nanny for you to care for the child. Once you start earning, you can repay me for the rent and the nanny's fees. I may never be able to repay it. I can't find a job, and opportunities outside are scarce." Lin Jing's agent has been contemplating resignation. Come and take her place. She continued to hesitate, weeping repeatedly about how difficult it would be to divorce him, that she couldn't work, and that she couldn't afford to raise a child. I booked a ticket and flew over, spending the afternoon conversing with her. Do you know why you find yourself in this predicament? It's because you placed your hopes upon a man, believing that with him, everything would improve. Yet such serendipity is a rarity. You married into his family, ostensibly living as a wealthy lady, but you bear the burdens of childbirth, household chores, and family management, without a single penny to your name. My housekeeper earns $200,000 a year with bonuses. Would I dare to scold her?
She only reprimands me.
But I'm truly unsure if I can succeed. I've never fought for anything in society. The outside world may be a jungle, but here it is hell. Within hell, you lack the dignity and worth of being human. In that instant, her eyes reflected a flicker of realization. I chose not to elaborate further, and once inside, I suggested taking her and her daughter on a trip to our place. Her parents from the Song family had known me for quite some time and were polite, showing little interest in their daughter-in-law. They readily acquiesced to my request. She packed a single suitcase, cradling her daughter, and flew back with me that very day. I settled her in an apartment, arranged for a nanny to care for her child, and had my agent sister come by to discuss work with her. She started working at the company the very next day. That same night, Su Shanshan sent me a message. Yesterday, I thought I would remain in despair for a lifetime, even contemplating suicide with my daughter in my arms. Yet, unexpectedly, by the next day, I had transformed into an entirely different person. I replied with a passage from the second sex. A man's great fortune lies in the fact that, whether in adulthood or childhood, he must embark on an arduous journey, albeit a most reliable one. A woman's misfortune, however, is that she is almost entirely surrounded by irresistible temptations. She is not urged to strive upwards but rather encouraged to descend into bliss. When she realizes she has been deceived, it is too late, for her strength has already been exhausted in the perilous venture. Su Shanshan recognized she had no way back. She worked diligently, putting her heart into learning. And after Lin Jing's departure, she stepped into her role. Su Shanshan and Lin Jing, who were once friends in the original story, troubled each other for some time. But later, due to Lin Jing's arrogance leading to her downfall, Su Shanshan seized the upper hand and no longer endured her tyranny. I mentored her for a year, handing the company over to her, enabling her to achieve financial independence, and her daughter began calling me aunt. Lin Yu only later learned about our partnership and was astonished and anxious. Eventually, he realized that our venture was independent of him and that he held no interest in it, which alleviated his concerns. However, he still hesitated to meet Su Shanshan for a meal. Their only phone interaction was when Su Shanshan called regarding a contract. Upon answering, she immediately remarked, "How can you just pick up someone else's phone?" Lin Yu was furious. Why shouldn't I answer her phone? Su Shanshan's impression of him thereafter became that of that man, and like all best friends, she felt he was somewhat unworthy of me. Moreover, upon seeing Su Shanshan flourish after leaving, becoming a radiant and decisive woman, Song Ming returned to entangle her once more. Su Shanshan replied, "I'm very busy. You should schedule an appointment with my assistant." Their meetings were scheduled 2 years in advance. Song Ming caused a ruckus at the company and at her home. Yet without a marriage certificate, it was not deemed a familial dispute, and he was detained. On the day he was released, Lin Yu scolded him, declaring him a despicable and lowly man, not behaving like a man at all. Afterward, he became much more subdued. Song Ming feared Lin Yu would ignore him, exhibiting a somewhat effeminate demeanor. I told Su Shanshan, "You are truly the chosen one. Fate decreed you would not possess that marriage certificate, nor require a cooling-off period for divorce, having given birth to your daughter before embarking on your career." Su Shanshan now holds an optimistic view regarding this matter. Though Song Ming is a worthless individual, my daughter is both beautiful and intelligent, with no redeeming qualities except her X chromosome. Later, Su Shanshan began dating a younger man from our company. She elevated him, and when he won the Best Actor award, he tearfully declared he wanted to raise her child. If not, he would terminate the contract. I urged them to hurry and be together, as I wouldn't be able to present my financial report next year if they parted. The two began cohabitating. Upon learning of this, Lin Yu became incredibly jealous. "Why am I still just a boyfriend? Am I unworthy of marrying you? They're merely cohabiting. We haven't even cohabited." The more Lin Yu spoke, the more aggrieved he became. "Why is this happening? I genuinely feel insecure. Every day is exhausting, and I drive for half an hour just to see you. Sometimes you aren't even there, and I have no idea where you are or who you're with. You never reply to my messages. Then why don't you move in with me? I sensed his anxiety regarding this matter. Likely because everyone was asking when I would marry him. Seeing so many young men in our company was a significant source of pressure for him. After living together for a while, his mental state improved slightly. One day, while in bed, he asked me when we would marry. I earnestly discussed this issue with him. The institution of marriage has become outdated. It no longer aligns with the current societal realities, which is why so many choose not to marry. Isn't our arrangement satisfactory? We gather when compatible and part when we are not. To my surprise, he began to cry. I don't care if the institution is outdated. I just want to marry. Your stance makes me feel like you don't care about me at all and disregard my feelings. Regardless, we've been together for 10 years. I can tolerate the fact that I'm just your boyfriend while that little white-faced man outside is acceptable, but I built everything with you from scratch.
但信住
You once promised to fulfill my desires, and I want that piece of paper. After pondering, I decided it might not be such a big deal after all. Though I lacked a strong sense of morality and did not wish to shoulder familial responsibilities, I initially dated Lin Yu purely based on attraction, thinking that sleeping together was inconsequential. However, my playful attitude had caused him much emotional distress, and I felt guilty about it. Furthermore, he had matured immensely over the years, transforming from the character in the original story into a refined individual in terms of interpersonal skills. He had become not only a decent person but also exceeded the standard of normalcy. His character stood out among the men I had encountered, and he was capable of embracing new ideas, approaching issues from a female perspective, distinctly different from ordinary men. Thus, I found it acceptable. After all, if things didn't work out, we could always divorce. The law protects the wealthy, and I wasn't concerned about asset division. I am a person of decisive action. The next day, I took him to the Civil Affairs Bureau. After receiving the certificate, he earnestly told me, in the future, if I fall ill or need surgery, you can sign for me. What if I decide to disconnect your breathing tube? You, with your heavy heart for vengeance, wish to slay your husband merely days after our wedding. Lin Yu shook his head, now assuming the role of my moral compass. Our wedding was a grand and extravagant affair, an endeavor I was entirely reluctant to undertake. Yet Lin Yu insisted, having stumbled in this very place. I must rise here as well. I am compelled to make a spectacle, to proclaim to the world that I, Lin Yu, have finally attained this. There is no need for such modesty. I am almost embarrassed. You are now my legally recognized husband, so speak with a bit more assertiveness. Then, how about you spend the night with me? His jest nearly had me in stitches, yet the truth remains that marriage is indeed a taxing endeavor. We are both in our 30s, devoid of those trivial worldly desires, and that evening we simply leaned against a garden bench in the estate, enveloped by the moonlight and stars. He gently inquired, "What occupies your thoughts?" I am contemplating how remarkable my journey has been thus far. I have nearly altered the destinies of every character in this narrative. I have elevated myself to a position where no melodrama can touch me, transforming those around me into benevolent souls, whether their intentions are genuine or feigned. I have also extended my hand to assist those so-called wicked female antagonists ensnared in their own predicaments, having never inflicted upon them even the slightest harm. Despite my ability to do so, that is only natural, Lin Yu nodded. And what of the future? What aspirations do you hold? I pondered for a moment. I wish for a world devoid of morbid curiosity in literature. I hope that all women find the courage to strive fiercely in society. I desire for everyone to acknowledge the value of domestic labor and motherhood. Lin Yu gazed at me for a long while, unable to suppress a low, admiring chuckle. I truly resonate with your ideals. He is indeed my fervent devotee. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and like to show your support. Until we meet again in the next story.